All right, what's up, everybody, and welcome back to the TD Podcast. We are your hosts, Tony and Dak, and in today's episode, we're coming at you with AFC questions for this upcoming offseason and season. Weird wording, but you get the gist. But before we get to the questions, we have to break down a recent signing, that being Aaron Rodgers being re-signed to the Steelers. 1-year contract, 20 plus million ish. I think it's a bad signing. I think they should have just threw the season away and let Mike McCarthy get a quarterback that he wanted. Or maybe Will Howard or Drew Allar play well because we know what we're getting out of Mason Rudolph. But I also understand wanting to get the most out of TJ Watt while you got him. Dak, what are your opinions on it?
It's kind of weird to me. Like you said, that they drafted another quarterback in the third round. They drafted a quarterback last year. But Aaron Rodgers is making 12 million more this year than he was last year. So it's kind of concerning to me that you're kind of throwing all that money at a guy that I don't know if he's going to be able to still get you over that hump.
Yep.
It's championship or bust kind of for the Steelers. You keep making the playoffs every year. New head coach, but $22 million in guaranteed. He's got $1 million. I'm guessing if he doesn't play as many games, he's not going to get. So the contract is kind of 23, but 25 up for, which means he can get 2 more million in incentives and player progression based or whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
But just kind of concerning, if I'm being honest, that he is getting that much money. And it's kind of the leeway here um, to hopefully move on with him
Yeah. I
and
would
move
hope
differently because
that they would have had a
he's
better.
just not. He's
Yeah.
just not that guy.
I would have hoped that they would have had a better option for this year because Aaron Rodgers wasn't it last year. Um, so getting into the meat and potatoes of the episode, our red zone section. The episode premise. So obviously I mentioned it at the top of the episode, but we're gonna run through each division and list one glaring question for each and discuss our thoughts on why it is a glaring question. Um, Examples: who turned the corner, whether it be quarterback, coach, other player, etc. As well as will X player still be elite, etc. Jumping into first the AFC North. Dak, do you want to kick us off with your question?
Yeah. Do each teams have what they need to succeed at what they're trying to succeed at? I know that's kind of a weird, wonky wording there, but the situation that each team is in, do they have what they need to do what they want to do? There's three teams in the division that it's Super Bowl or bust. It's Lamar Jackson time. He's done everything besides make a Super Bowl. It's time for him to make a Super Bowl. The same way with the Ravens. Bengals, it's getting back to the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl or bust. Um, and then for the Steelers, you just bring in Aaron Rodgers, so it's Super Bowl or bust. Do those teams have what they need to succeed? Um, that's the glaring question. I don't think so, but we'll find out. I don't think any of these teams are Super Bowl contenders. Um, and then you have the Browns, who's
Hmm.
four, if not five, quarterbacks on the roster who don't even know who's playing quarterback week one here. Deshaun Watson's money says that he's going to be the quarterback one, and he looks a whole lot better than what um, Shedeur Sanders looks right now. But again, do they have what they need to succeed at what plan their plan is, and what is their plan? We don't really know, and that's just what's going on here in the AFC North. And I guess that's really a question everyone can have for every division,
Mm-hmm.
but there's just a lot more gray, foggy area here in this AFC North for me.
Yeah, it's definitely more focused on the AFC North with how many teams should be on the path for the Super Bowl, or at least how many teams that seem to be on that timeline. Whether we like it or not, the Steelers roster is not getting any younger. So if they want to really get TJ Watt and utilize that defense to the best of their ability, they need to be actually making a playoff run sooner rather than later. And same with the Ravens and Bengals, because if Joe Burrow keeps mentioning retirement, somebody might pop a blood vessel in their noggin. having to worry about Joe Burrow leaving their organization. Um,
Yeah, it's the curse of the Colts. So
yeah. So, my question for the AFC North is kind of corresponds with yours. Can the top QBs stay healthy? Lamar played in 13 games last year, and Joe Burrow played in 8. Um, it's so bad for the division because the Steelers actually won the division last year with Aaron Rodgers. So while Aaron Rodgers got re-signed and we just bashed on it, they still won the division, which is an absolute joke. The Bengals haven't made the playoffs since 2022. For reference, Garrett Wilson won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Sauce Gardner won Defensive Player Rookie of the Year, and Justin Jefferson won Offensive Player of the Year that year. And corresponding impact of Burrow and Lamar get hurt could be that the next offseason story. So what I mean by that is if Joe Burrow or Lamar get hurt, it could be a story of okay, one of those two teams is now in the top 5 picks. What do they do with their quarterbacks now? Do they continue to hope that they get healthy and hope they come back to the player that they were? Or is it a situation where we see one of these top quarterbacks get traded, they draft a rookie, and hope for the best and restart?
could you
Because,
imagine a Rams and Lions type of deal again, where like Matthew Stafford couldn't stay healthy there, but then went on a contending team and just won a Super Bowl in the following years? Like a team that would just trade a young quarterback that's got promise, but it's just not great
mm-hmm,
to a contender. Like, could you like that? That would be wild with Joe Burrow.
yeah,
That would be wild.
because all it takes is them being healthy for a season, and then they're back in the playoffs and have Super Bowl hopes in all reality, especially with the weapons that they have. But I think the real scary thing with Lamar Jackson, if he gets hurt again, is he's relied so much on his mobility that we've seen it dwindle more and more each year. Now he's gotten better at passing also throughout his career. So it would just be interesting to see what they would continue to do with that and if they would move on from him quicker than before, especially with a new coaching staff in the office. Um, Moving on from the AFC North, AFC East. My question for the AFC East is whose receiving core levels up? We've seen an addition for just about all of them. The Bills added DJ Moore. The Patriots added Romeo Dobbs and probably AJ Brown. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition June 1st. The Jets are flushed with receiving talent, and then the Dolphins brought in rookies. The Dolphins have the probably the lightest receiving core in the NFL, but the other three teams all added talent. Um, I think it'll be interesting. Could it be that the Bills bring in DJ Moore and then you see, is it? It's not Joe Judge, is it? Is it Joe Judge? No, not Judge. What's his name? I can't believe it. That's how deep we are in the off season that I can't remember his name. Joe Brady. Do we see Joe Brady really crack open DJ Moore like he did for Stephon Diggs when he came back? Do we see the Patriots bring in Romeo Dobbs and make him a true bona fide wide receiver one? Or does A.J. Brown come in, be wide receiver one? Now they have a true receiving core with A.J. Brown, Romeo Dobbs, and Kayshon Boutte. And then the
Deshaun
Jets.
Booty's on the trade block right now, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. And then the Jets, you have Garrett Wilson when he comes back. You've got Adonai Mitchell, and then they just added who's the third guy? My brain is blanking.
Omar Cooper.
Yeah, Omar Cooper Jr. So they've got three legit wide receiver cores. So it really comes, and I think that was probably the biggest problem for that division last year. Well, excluding the Jets and the Dolphins, the two contenders of that division, their biggest problem was receiver. Because the Bills faltered because their wide receiver one was not cutting it, which is why their owner got on and blasted. Oh my gosh, Keelan Coleman, and then Patriots
Khalil
didn't.
Shakir
Yeah,
wasn't
Khalil
doing
Shakir.
much
Yeah.
either.
Um, and then the Patriots ran out of gas when it got to the Super Bowl because they had Kayshawn Boutte and Mac Hollins, and then a bunch of young guys who needed to prove themselves. So bringing in some vets, especially Dobbs and Brown, who have been gotten deep into the playoffs and have success as players, I think could be really beneficial, and we could see the Patriots going back to back, at least playoff or Super Bowl appearances, depending on how that Bills bump goes.
Yeah, and that leads to my question is are we back to the same old AFC East where Patriots
Mm-hmm.
are at the top of the division, um, the Bills are a fighting team and they're there, they're at 10-7, they're just there every year. I think they'll be better than that than what they used to because, they do have Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
But the Jets still suck. And the Dolphins, I think, are going to settle for 7-10 every year and have a good 8 or 9, 9-8 kind of year. And
They're
I
going to be
think, are we
middling.
back to that situation? And I think we are. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think Vrabel's got the Patriots and he's got his team. I think it would take a lot for Vrabel to have to leave the Patriots or him wanting to leave the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everything that's going on in the social media world is kind of like trying to push for that
Yeah.
because no one wants to see the Patriots successful because the Patriots have already been majorly successful. Um, and I think that we're kind of getting back to that. And I think if Drake May can continuously improve,
Yeah.
I just don't see it where the Bills are the top team in the division anymore.
Yeah. I'm surprisingly not necessarily on the same boat. As like not wanting the Patriots to succeed. I like Mike Vrabel. Don't necessarily like what he does off the field, but as a coach, I do like him. And then Drake may have been a fan of since I got a cool card of his at a card shop. Um, and it's not the same Patriots team either. Bill Belichick was cheater. He was a cheater, and Tom Brady is now a minority owner of the Raiders. So I kind of have to be nice to him, I guess. So I understand
You
winning
put all
it.
the blame
Yeah, I
on
understand
Billy.
winning a different dynasty or a different team to be in the Super Bowl, and I do too. I would like there to be fluidity. I don't want it to be like the NBA where we see the um, Golden State Warriors or the Lakers go every year, or now OKC. Um, but to the same point, I do like where we're at because it has a different feel to it, I guess, in my brain. So at least right now, give it 2 more seasons. If it's still the Patriots, I'm sure I will have soured by then. Jumping to the AFC West, my division with my Raiders. Just coincidentally, we both have Raiders questions. Kind of. Well, no, you're going down the laundry list, so we'll let you talk through the laundry list, and then I will get to my more pointed question.
So my laundry list starts off with the header of the laundry list. And is this the most wide open this division has been in quite some time? The Chiefs dynasty hasn't been looking great. Mahomes' injury, Travis Kelce retires. What do we do there? I think if you look back at what Tom Brady did after
Wait,
the year he
what?
tore
Travis
his
Kelsey retired?
ACL, he's most likely going to after this next
Oh,
year.
oh, right. I thought
So
I deleted social media, so I didn't know if there was a bomb that I didn't see. Okay, no,
no,
continue.
no, he
Sorry,
hasn't retired yet, but he's on his
I
realm
was
of
so
being
excited.
closer to retirement. Um, I kind of look back at what Tom Brady did after the year he tore his ACL, and I believe that was 2006. And then the next year they went and won like 17 games in a row, and lost in the Super Bowl to the
Mm,
Giants.
yeah.
Could we possibly see something that with Patrick Mahomes and that storyline kind of continue and wrap over again? Probably not. But the Broncos lost a lot of the Broncos are in a lot of one scoring possessions games last year. And that could have went any way. The
Hmm.
quarterback and the head coach don't really like each other. They don't have a good relationship.
Yeah, it's looking
So
pretty
that's
funny
gonna
there.
hurt.
Sorry.
The
Yeah.
Chargers, we ask the same question every year. Is this the year they take a step forward? And that's like, who really knows? And then you go down to the Raiders, and it's like the Raiders could possibly win 3 divisional games this year and make the division a whole lot more interesting because if they go 3-3 in the division, that's 3 losses somewhere else. If they beat every team once, okay, that's going to help out the division
Hmm.
a little bit. But again, I think, in my opinion, I think this year is one of the times where the division is the most wide open. Not necessarily saying that the Raiders have a chance to win the division, but
Yeah.
I think they have a greater chance to win the division this year because of how many gray areas and just things that just haven't been going teams' ways this year. And I think between the Chargers, Broncos, and the Chiefs, it's a 30-30 or 33-33-33% chance, and you just give that 1% to the Raiders, and then you're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I am not going to buy into the hopium this year. Last year, if you guys were watching, thank you for staying here this long. Um, but last year, I bought into Pete Carroll and all that, and obviously, we saw how that went. But we got Fernando Mendoza, and I'm happy about that. Um, as for the division being wide open, or more open at least, the door is at least not shut and locked and key locked, like key padded and padlocked and all the other words by the Chiefs this year. At least seemingly, um, I would agree in that facet. Um, I've never been one to buy into the Chargers, so I will agree with that one as well. I don't get it. I really don't. Justin Herbert is a good quarterback, but they've always had a missing something, or they've just faltered in the playoffs.
It's just been like the Chargers all the time. I mean, look, Philip Rivers, he was a decent quarterback. I'm not going to sit here and say that Philip Rivers has as many. I think if Philip Rivers and Justin Herbert were combined in the same quarterback body, I think that'd be one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, just because of the ability that Justin Herbert has and the IQ that Philip Rivers has.
Yeah,
But it's just like they're two good quarterbacks on the Chargers, and they just have never been able to do anything for that quarterback.
yeah. I'm gonna say something that's gonna upset you. They are Chargers. No, they're the 49ers of the AFC. Um, you have high expectations, and then they don't reach it. And then the Broncos. I think that head
We
coach
we've
quarterback.
made Super Bowls.
Yeah, you make it further, but then you lose because you can't beat the Chiefs. Um, the Broncos, I think that head coach and quarterback combo might actually end up biting them in the butt. At the end of this last year, Sean Payton was talking smack about Bo Nix's ankle injuries, and it seemed to ruffle some feathers. So unless they figure that out this offseason, there might be some friction going in to this upcoming season, as well as Sean Payton is not calling the plays next year, which is interesting because from what I've heard and what I know, Sean Payton has always called the plays. So that's also something to keep an eye on. As for the Raiders, can they win 3 divisional games? I think that would be interesting. I think that'd be really cool. I don't really buy into the Raiders being super successful this year. I think they'll be like, what is that, 17 game season? Like maybe 5-12. Maybe because there's some rough stretches of this upcoming season in terms of schedule wise. But that does kind of like segue me into my question. When does Fernando Mendoza start? I think this goes into what you have, what your question was quite a bit. Because if he starts late, it could mean the Raiders are in the running for the playoffs. Because if Kirk Cousins is cooking, why would you bring in Fernando Mendoza? Why would you have him start? If the Raiders are like
Right.
4-2 going into Week 6, you're going to keep that train running. Um,
Unless you're the Steelers and Philip or Justin Fields does wonderful,
yeah,
and then you bring in Russell Wilson.
yeah. We don't talk about them. They have Aaron Rodgers starting. Clearly, that didn't work out for them. Scenario 2, if he starts early, the Raiders are likely out, and it's game time reps for Fernando. So again, Week 6, if they're 2-4, why not bring in Fernando? I know the coaching staff and Tom Brady have a very, very like strong opinion on keeping the rookie out for a while. I am of that same mindset, but also if you have if you're out of that terrible stretch of games, you might as well get him some play time. Um, and then, so the point is, I feel like Mendoza's timeline kind of coincides with your question of how is the division going. Um, because if he's not starting, it's likely because the Raiders are playing well and they don't want to ruin it. Or yeah, that's my mindset of it.
I
Um,
think like your question is when does when does he start?
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of reminds me of, okay, but it was the same thing for Baker Mayfield.
I was thinking
And
more
then
Drake May.
went 8-6 his rookie year,
Yeah.
but didn't get it to start until I think week 3 when Tyrod Taylor went out.
Yeah.
So will you be forced to play him early because of injury, and then he just turns out to be, okay, we're moving on from Kirko?
Yeah.
Like, I think you can't rule out that possibility either.
Mm. Yeah. I was envisioning a Drake May situation where you bring in a Jacoby Brissett, or in this case, Kirk Cousins, have him start this year, and then go from there. Um, Obviously, Jacoby Brissett was benched, I believe, around week 6 for Drake May. So it could be that situation and then lead to whatever this division ends up looking like because, like you said, it's not as transparent as in years past where it's just been like, okay, the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl, who's coming in second and getting bounced week 1 of the playoffs. Now, AFC South, final division of the AFC. I will kick us off with this one. Will the Texans' run game be above average? Because I think that's really what is keeping the Texans from being next level as a just balanced team because their defense is legit and CJ Stroud needs help because when he gets in his head and starts playing poorly, it's just downhill and without a counter punch or something else to do in the offense, it's just, okay, CJ, we need you to pick it back up. They added David Montgomery and offensive lineman, which I think is another reason why CJ Stroud has struggled, and it is the offensive line. They haven't been able to properly build around him. Um, and I think without being able to properly build around your quarterback, especially still being young, causes happy feet, and you get a Derek Carr situation where he's an above average quarterback, but he might look less than because he's constantly stressed out about whether he's going to get hit or not. Now, getting to the point, the absolute reason why it matters in this run game is because if you can dictate the game clock with the run game and then have an elite defense, they can run away with the division probably pretty easily. The Colts, we don't know what they're going to look like. They're a mixed bag. Titans, it's the same thing. They have more weapons, which is awesome. Cam Ward's second year, but it's a new coaching staff, so he's got to learn a new playbook, which I'm a firm believer that it takes longer or that you're probably not going to get instant results. The Raiders had 8 different head coaches probably in Derek Carr's time, so he was learning a new playbook probably every year, which is ridiculous. So if you are looking at Cam Ward at the end of this year and like, wow, he really does suck at football, probably not the case. He just needs to learn a playbook again, which blows.
The Justin Fields situation.
Or Justin Fields situation, or insert even Jalen Hurts has had numerous offensive coordinators.
Yes.
But the Jags also lost Travis Etienne, and then have a little bit of a more funky run game. And then is Brian Thomas Jr. going to bounce back? What kind of role is Travis Hunter going to play? And then their defense was not nearly as good as the Texans' defense, and they lost Devin Lloyd and I believe other players as well. And then they didn't have the greatest draft either. So I think it really comes down to, can the Texans build up their run game and run away with this division, or is it the Jags' turn to at bat and they're just going to start running away with this division year in and year out? Or maybe the Colts are decent, or the Titans. I don't foresee that, especially because I'm not a Daniel Jones guy. But I've been wrong before, just not about the Colts.
My question is, who can start off fast and stay there?
Yeah.
Kind of to go in what you said with the Texans. If the Texans can figure out the third cylinder of their team, they
Mm-hmm.
can run away. But if they can't, how slow do they start? I mean, they started off really slow last year. I think they were 1-5, and
Yeah,
then
it
they
was not
eventually made the
good.
playoffs. Um, I believe. And then the Jaguars started off slow as well. I think they were 2-4 to start, and then they got it to like 5-4, and they played the Colts week 6. or week 8, something like that. And then, Daniel Jones went out, and then they got some momentum going there. But who can start off fast and stay there? Who's going to really insert themselves in the division, as this is our division we want to
Mm-hmm.
play for the division this year?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I totally agree. I think it comes down to who can start off fast and then coast, because how often do we see
Yes.
teams like stick fast the whole year? It's very, very
Oh,
rare.
absolutely.
Um, but with that being said, that kind of another segue into our last portion of the episode, which is our extra point with the question of who are the AFC Super Bowl contenders? But I wanted to focus on the dark horse part of that question. And I think my dark horse is the Texans. Um, in a podcast I was listening to today, they talked about how we've had more level teams in the Super Bowl, but of those level teams or balanced teams, whichever way you want to word it, it has been the more than likely the best defense in the league, followed by a middle of the pack, above average offense. And I think the Texans are a spitting image of that. I don't think their defense is going to falter this year because D'Amico Ryans is a good head coach and they have so many dogs on that team. So unless they get
They
hurt,
have it's the same kind of blueprint as what the Seahawks did last year.
mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
they stacked on their defense, and then they said, offense, go score points, and we can go score points. But their
Yeah.
run game was good. They could run the ball on 3rd and 18,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow turn around and get a first down out of it. And there's a chance there you're not just running the ball on 3rd and 18 and saying, all right, punt unit, get ready.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's still a simple chance there. Now, if you're the Texans, you haven't had that opportunity. Can you do that and succeed?
Yeah.
Because your defense, is going to create turnovers. It's going to create sacks. They're going to give you hidden yards gained.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what can we do here?
Yeah, I think the Texans, if they can follow the Seahawks blueprint, like you said, because I think C.J. Stroud is probably a better quarterback than Sam Darnold, and I think that the overall wide receiver core for the Texans, let me make sure,
Yeah, it's nasty.
it's I want to say it's close to the Seahawks, if not like level. Obviously, it's hard because Jackson Smith is like wide receiver one, and then Nico Collins is like maybe he's a top 10.
8.
Yeah. So then it just really comes down to who's the Cooper Cup on the Texans. Is it um, Jalen Noel? Is it Jaden Higgins? Or the vet that I'm forgetting? Do they still have
Yeah,
a vet?
Tank Dell.
Oh, yeah. Does he come back?
He does.
Um,
Christian
okay.
Kirk is also on that
Christian
roster.
Kirk is not. He is a 49er.
Oh, he's a 49er now. Hold
Yes.
up. Wait a minute. You're right.
Yeah, it's Nico Collins,
He's on that
Jaden
roster
Higgins, and
last year.
Tank Dell. So yeah, that's a good receiving core with a bunch of different flavors. Point being, I think they're the dark horse of the AFC. Other Super Bowl contenders are obviously like the Patriots, the Bills, the Chiefs.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say the Broncos.
Ravens.
Broncos could be
Like,
there. It really comes down to how Bo Nix comes back. I don't. Hot take. I don't know if the Ravens are going to be a Super Bowl contender this year.
it's just hard to count out Lamar Jackson.
I think the Bengals will have a better chance than the Ravens. But
The Bengals are my dark horse team. I think they
there you
address
go. Another
the
segue.
D
Call
line
us
a
Mall
little bit.
Cop because we've got all the segues.
I think Dexter being inside is going to be
Mm-hmm.
well, and I think if you get some linebackers, you get some secondary. I think you're going to do well, and I think Joe Burrow's coming with vengeance this year. I think he wasn't healthy last year, and I think he's got an opportunity to stay healthy and do what he can do. I think they win the division pretty easily. I think this year, just because of how everything else is. And
Mm-hmm.
I think you're gonna see a side of Joe Burrow and the
Joe
Bengals
Burrow.
offense that we've seen a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if we don't, their head coach is fired by week 10.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think
I
he
mean,
should have been
three
fired
three
last
head
year, but
coaches were gone in that division.
yeah, and they were all successful. So. All right, that'll do it for this episode. Next week we'll be coming at you guys with the NFC. biggest questions. Until then, hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment, share, all that fun stuff. Let us know down below what your biggest question is, and if you guys think we're idiots, because more than likely somebody does after this episode. But until then, have a great week. Peace.